Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to another instant post-game reaction. Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. Yes, a relatively comfortable performance in the end. And again, with Arsenal, you just don't know what you're going to get, do you? You don't know what's going to happen. But as usual, we're going to start with the starting 11. And this was the starting 11. I just managed to pick up just in time. So it was a Raya in goal. It was a back four with some familiar faces there. Ben White, right back. CB's William Saliba, paired with Gabriel, Megahlses, and of course, actually Zinchenko was probably the surprise position there. And then we had a Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, and Martin Odegaard, of course, up front with Bukayo Saka. Now, I've just been joined by my good friend, James Rowe. James, how are you?
Very well, thank you, Alex. Very well. I hope you and all the viewers and listeners are keeping well. And yeah, pleased to get our goal difference up today. I think that's something really important, although you could say 5-0 towards the end flattered Arsenal just that little bit, I would say.
Yeah. Where do Crystal Palace go from here? Roy Hodgson, I think there were some small protesters as well at the Emirates.
Well, they're really caught between a rock and a hard place. First and foremost, Roy Hodgson is a manager that until he retires, he won't get the credit he deserves. You know, he really won't, which is so sad for a manager who's been successful abroad. You know, he's in the same pantheon as the likes of Bob Houghton as well from his time at Malmo. And, you know, for him to have won and been successful abroad and managed Inter Milan as well, you know, it's not easy. And also with his perfect campaign of managing England, where people forget that he won 10 games out of 10, which I don't think had ever happened before in any qualifying campaign. And we were beaten by an Iceland side who had knocked out Czech Republic, the Netherlands, and Turkey in the qualifying, and that was their time. And I think of Hodgson's, I think of his tenure at England. I think he only lost 5 games, but yeah, it's that one game that people always revert back to. I thought he was a very good English manager, but I really do think, Alex, that Crystal Palace are caught between the rock and a hard place. It's the fans saying they want to progress, but they're caught between a rock and a hard place. I suppose the board want the stability of being a Premier League team, and then the fans want them to progress, but they're really kind of caught in between two worlds. You know, are they going to be a team that fights for Europe, or are they just happy to be in the Premier League? I think they've been in the Premier League now for 10 seasons. I mean, I remember going to the Arsenal Crystal Palace game in their first season when they got up, and their fans were nothing short of incredible. They sang for 90 minutes in a 2-0 Arsenal win. They were brilliant. And I just think it's difficult for them. But I think this is what the Premier League's also created. I mean, people love to talk about the product. People love to talk about the expansion and all the different globalization terms. But what it's also created is it's created clubs that can't really crack on, and they're either stuck between just wanting to be an established Premier League team or wanting to make that next step. And I do worry as well with the chimes for the Super League. Where does it leave clubs like Crystal Palace? You know, because we really need to respect the pyramid. We really do. And I think the only way to really fend off the Super League beast, and that is by all of the 92 coming together, not 20 plus 72, all of the 92.
Well, you know, I heard a wonderful stat actually, James, that Roy Hodgson has beaten Arsenal 3 times, 3 different clubs in 3 different decades. So with Blackburn, Fulham, and with Crystal Palace 2019. I thought, wow. And I think he had managed in, is it 5 different countries or 4 different countries?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a great servant to English football, and it just goes to show there's people like Sir Bobby Robson, people like Roy Hodgson, people don't go looking for that challenge anymore. And that's a credit to the likes of Roy Hodgson and Sir Bobby Robson. They went looking for it and they found it. I mean, in the case of Sir Bobby Robson as well, 2 titles in the Netherlands with PSV, winning titles in Portugal as well, winning a European trophy with Barcelona and the Copa del Rey. This is not easy, but yet one of the greatest English club managers managed to do it. And in the case of Roy Hodgson as well, from his time in Sweden, also his time managing national teams, he really put Finland on the map as well. And it just goes to show. I wonder about the next generation of managers and where are they coming from? Because at the minute, I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of get back to the game that's just finished. I tend to agree with James. The scoreline kind of flattered Arsenal to a certain extent. 5-0. Martinelli scoring a brace as well as Gabriel Magalhães. And I missed the first 15 minutes. I was out with my wife. But set piece killers. 2 set pieces, 2 goals, I think, from Gabriel Magalhães. And so Arsenal go back, I believe, into 3rd place. James, is this going to be a catalyst now?
I should hope so. I should hope so. You make a great point about set pieces and set piece killers and aerial ability. We will need this against FC Porto because it's one of their weak spots. So it's great that we've shown that we can do it, but we're going to need this in Porto and in. So it's. I just wanted to reiterate that. Whether it's going to be a catalyst, I'm not sure. The fact remains, if Liverpool win their game in hand, we're 5 points behind, with 17 games left. And within those 17 games, we host Liverpool, we host Chelsea, we go away to Manchester United, away to Tottenham, away to Sheffield United and Nottingham Forest, who are scrapping for their lives, as well as Burnley. So it's not going to be easy, but I will remain consistent in the fact that I've been saying the entire season long, before the season even started, no trophy, no job. And I listened to what I call the biased player today, because it's the only thing I have to follow Arsenal. And it's amazing how dare anyone tries to attack Arsenal. How dare a decision goes against this. What kind of situation and scenarios are they trying to create? As if, if anything goes against Arsenal, or if there's any question mark over anything, they raise their concerns and say, that's not offside. How can that be offside? And so on and so on and so on. If these are supposed to be professional commentators, if you compare this to the likes of David Coleman, Kenneth Wolstenstone, Barry Davies, John Motson, they were proper, prim and proper. The way that I describe it is if you was an alien and you came down to Earth and you didn't know what was going on, if you was to listen to one of the greats, you would understand what's going on. And now it's more of our side does everything perfectly. If the opposition score, it's a complete accident in every way, shape or form. But what they're projecting isn't football. It's the same with YouTube vloggers. I could write a book about the things that I've experienced at football all around the world. They wouldn't publish it for toffee, but it happened. Am I supposed to say, oh no, don't leave? For example, if I was to write a book about my experiences following Arsenal, following Ajax, watching Real Madrid in their own stadium, being in the Maracanã, and so on and so on. If I was to write a book about my experiences, and I was to use words that were said, sentences that were said, conversations that was had, I would be pretty sure that it wouldn't be published because they claimed they couldn't publish it. But the fact remains, these conversations and these scenarios took place. And I think that's with the Arsenal player. I can understand that it's an Arsenal website, but try and help and educate people as well. Try and help and educate people understanding what's going on, because that's why the same old adage, divide and rule. That's why you're having an older generation that played the game, that understand the game, up against a younger generation that are only obsessed with statistics. Well, I will reiterate once again, throw your statistics in the bin, they don't mean nothing. Because the most important statistic is what actually happens, win, lose or draw.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go into the live chat. There's been just a few comments there. The moderator, as usual, is Ashidi. He says that he missed the game. How did we do? Well, we won a resounding 5-0, a clean sheet, 2 braces, one from actually the 2 Gabriels, Martinelli and Megahlses. The assembled says, after Alex and James and the chat, everything is positive again. Beating a team we should beat. We no longer need anybody. I'll give this process until March without any signings, and let's see. So, James, we have not signed any players so far in the January transfer window. Now, I know we said buying players is not always the solution, but your thoughts that we've not actually got any new players in so far?
Well, first and foremost, I respect and always give time to every question that we get. I think the assembled are they quietly hinting about the 12th of March being the season being over?
Yeah,
because that's the night of the second leg. That's the night of the second leg of Porto. So maybe they're quietly hinting whether it will be over by March. But I will go the other way, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. The player's name will be kept under wraps for my own benefit, and also for that of the player. We live in a world where transfer. The whole week in the Netherlands, Henderson. It's been unreal. It's like a state visit. You know, never mind Queen Elizabeth rocking up in Amsterdam to have tea with Beatrix, or what it was in the past. Obviously, it's now King Willem Alexander, and but it's been a hot item all week, and I just remember one professional player that I spoke to who signed for Southend United. So not the greatest team in the world. But this is a professional athlete who signed for Southend United and was so disillusioned with the transfer that he decided to turn to alcohol. Now, these are the types of things that Fabrizio Romano and all the other in the knows will never tell you. They will never tell you the other side of the coin as to what happens when a transfer doesn't exactly work out. This industry is subsequently destroying players' lives. It really is, because you imagine in company life, in your case as a teacher, and in my case working for the Amsterdam City Council, you imagine in company life going about your business, being content and happy in your job, being a well-respected member of your team, only to one day be told, "Oh, we've sold you elsewhere." But I didn't want to go. No, you're going. Off you go. See you later. How difficult that would be, and the mental fortitude that you need. And I just think now, I think in the next 10 years, I'm pretty certain that you'll get more and more stories coming out of the woodwork regarding the inner workings and the disadvantages of transfers, because there's not a pot of gold at the end of every transfer window. Yeah. There really isn't. You can't plan a career and not every transfer works out. Just because a player is doing well at one club in one particular system doesn't mean that when he or she moves that exactly the same thing is going to happen. And I just think that the transfer system needs to be completely overruled, where I would scrap the January transfer window completely, get rid of it completely. And I would scale back the summer transfer window to just 2 weeks, not 4, 2. You've got 2 weeks to get your houses in order. Once that window shuts, that's it until the following season. Because then what you'll get is you'll get clubs actually thinking about what they do. Because what's happening now, clubs are buying not for the benefit of the individual. They're buying to make sure that the player does not sign elsewhere with a competitor. And I don't think that's the greatest strategy that you can come up with. in terms of academy as well. Our Hale End Academy, are there players coming through? And also the fans you have to believe in players. You have to believe in players. I mean, I could give you in my 35 years supporting Arsenal a list as long as your arm of players that are really rated that you've never heard of. Well, obviously they've paled into insignificance now. I think Tommy Dallason's at Colchester. I think John Hall's was so disillusioned with football that he ended up giving up the game and started his own clothing shop. John Spicer ended up at Bournemouth.
Oh yeah,
And so on and so on. Stephen Sidwell, I remember when he went on loan to Brentford, I believe, when he first was knocking around the first team. David Bentley as well. You know, this industry that's being created is not a very nice one. It used to be you saw the player presenting with the shirt, and that was that. Now you've got literally a 24-hour diary of a plane touching down, the medical images. I'm not being funny, but nobody wants to see all that, or at least I don't want to see any of that. I couldn't care less. I'm more concerned about how the player does on the pitch. And it really is interesting with Henderson saying that the move to Ajax is good for him and his family. In the position of someone who will be earning €5 million a year, absolutely. Amsterdam, and I should know, I've lived here for 18 years. It's not was never a cheap place to live, but it's now become exponential. And I think what it does is it just kind of skews the images a little bit. You know, life abroad can be tough. You know, he's signed for 2.5 years. I don't know if Henderson will learn Dutch or he'll need a translator. I'm available if he needs one. But I also had Ajax look at my LinkedIn a couple of days ago. So maybe 1 + 1 is 2, as they say here. But unlikely. But I just like to let the viewers know that for all the rumours, and that's what they are, rumours, there's no need for it. There really is no need for it. And for the people that get off on the in the know, Fabrizio Romano, I've just heard, I'll give you 2 examples. I've interviewed over 409 professional players and managers. On 5 different occasions, I was told where a player was going. Not once did I divulge that information. Not once. Out of respect for myself, first and foremost, and also for the player, his family, and the club that he's going to. But now it's as if, Fabrizio just tweeted, he's bang on. No, it's hearsay. How on earth can a club placate someone like that? How? And for the people that sing his and other praises, how would you like it? How would you like it if what you think is happening, what you're comfortable with, is suddenly turned upside down because of gossip and hearsay? But it's being perpetuated. There's a whole generation now that unless he tweets something, they don't believe it.
Yeah.
Now, more for them. It's a big old world. It's a big old world, and I'm not being funny. Does he speak every language under the sun? Does he? Does he speak every language under the sun so he knows what's going on in the Dutch changing room? Does he? Does he know what's going on in the French changing room? Does he? Or obviously an Italian one. But what I'm saying is one man is not an industry. But this whole industry now of perpetuation, people talk about mental health and respecting mental health. Now, this is a really important fact. People perpetuating this industry and making out it to be like an ecosystem which zaps at somebody's energy, somebody's ambition. If they carry on, you're going to have a whole generation of players that are going to be mentally absolutely exhausted with what's gone on. It's something very, very dangerous, in my opinion. So I would say to the people that go bananas about the transfer window, there's more to football than just the transfer window. The transfer window is one factor of many, many factors, not just the be-all and end-all.
Well said, James. And actually, just talking about welfare and mental health players, Amit says, "What a game! I must say, our left back position is a concern still. Also, what is the news with regards to Emil Smith Rowe being loaned out? What I have heard again, rumors, speculations. The rumor mill has been going around in full cycle, and it is that West Ham have tried to put in a bid that Arsenal have refused. So he's still at Arsenal. Actually, got a few minutes today, but I'm not in the know. I'm not in the know.
No. And also as well, Alex, do you think that young Emil Smith Rowe, this is the same Emil Smith Rowe who before signing professional terms with Arsenal was contacted by Barcelona. This is the same Emil Smith Rowe who was due to go getting that opportunity with Arsenal. Do you think that this is what he envisaged when he signed for Arsenal?
Yeah.
To become a bit part player and play for 30 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think this is what he envisaged?
Oh, absolutely not.
And then the biased player, as I call it, he comes on as sub, and what do they say? Oh, we've never seen him looking so trim. He looks absolutely brilliant. So it's perpetuation. It's perpetuation. If I'm Emil Smith Rowe, what is he now? 24?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what's he achieved in his career?
Not much.
No. So he's got how many years left? A decade?
If he's lucky.
Right. So he'll end up being, with the greatest respect. Do you remember Ian Selly?
I do.
Do you remember Mark Flats?
I do remember Mark Flats.
Right. He'll end up being like them. He'll end up being like them. Do you remember Neil Heaney?
Yeah.
He'll end up being like then, someone who was associated as playing for Arsenal, not a first team starter every single game. But I must admit, Mark Flats did have great pace, I must say, and I think
I know his family.
Yeah, and I think as well, Emil Smith Rowe will end up being associated with Arsenal. So you've got an entire career. And what you'll get at the end of it is, oh, you played a couple of games for Arsenal, didn't you? Well, I'm not sure that's what he envisaged when he signed his professional terms.
James, we're not here to advise players, but if you were going to advise Emil Smith Rowe, what would you advise him to do?
Go abroad.
Wow.
Because I think his touch and his poise, I think those attributes would serve him well in a league like France, in a league like possibly Italy, possibly even Spain, because he's technically gifted. And I think with playing more games, I think he'll improve. But again, it reminds me very much of the Sanchez Watt. Do you remember Sanchez Watt used to play for Arsenal?
Yeah.
I interviewed Sanchez Watt, and I remember what he said to me. He said, James, when I was at Arsenal, nobody wanted to leave. They all wanted to stay training with Sami Nasri, Cesc Fabregas, and Robin van Persie. Nobody wanted to leave. He said, I was offered the opportunity to go to Leeds, and they really looked after me. They really cared for me. And I'm indebted to them with how they treated me. That's the difference. That's the difference. When I spoke to Sanchez Watt, he was playing for Wealdstone. But the fact remains, Sanchez Watt actually achieved with playing multiple games for Leeds, a few games for Arsenal, and I just think that in this day and age, again with the transfer window, in the know, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. It really doesn't. So I would say to the people that are perpetuating this nonsense, and it is nonsense, to take a step back and concentrate on the game. Go and watch a game in Italy or Spain or France. Go and pick out a player. Go and watch a game and say, oh, well, he looks a good player. Keep an eye on him. Then you might find Alfonso Pedraza like I did. You might find Ricardo Escael like I did. You might find Jonathan Galandi like I did. Because I'm not interested in the transfer. I'm interested in the welfare of the player and watching the player play football. Not interested in the transfer jargon.
Let's go through just a few more live chats, and I want to get James' opinion on a video that our sporting director did on another platform. So Ashidi says at least them goals will have given them some confidence after going so long and not hitting the barn door. Right. And John says, boring Arsenal. All right, ha 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 ha. Very, very funny, John. Got to enjoy the win until reality hits us, i.e., well, I mean, reality's already hit, John. You can't say wait until Liverpool. Reality, it's already hit, John. Anyway,
the fact as well, our manager's got 2 trophies to save his job, and he's 3 points closer today. So that's the main story of the day, that he got his goal difference up. But the fact remains, if Liverpool win their game in hand, they're 5 points in front with 17 games left. And we've still got to go to also Manchester City and Old Trafford as well. So long way to go. But I will reiterate once again, no trophy, no job.
Okay. John says, okay, he's just kind of made amends here. A great result, masking problems. The problems are abound at Arsenal. Few more. Amit says, David Bentley loved Arsenal so much he went to Spurs. Right, okay. John says, James, mate, it's a big business. What's it? Spouting bull on social media.
Yeah. No, a great point, but I'm not being funny. I'm not part of it. As I say, from my point of view, it's not competition. But if I was to lay down facts, to coin the phrase, a big business spouting bull, okay, I put on the table 409 professional interviews with players and managers at all different levels of world football, also in foreign languages, being told information ahead of time, being told confidential information, and my pride and my character does not allow me to have that trust. As I say, from my point of view, with having done work for World Football Index and BBC and the Secret Footballer Publisher and so on, at least I've still got my pride intact, and I think that's something very important.
Absolutely. Right. So, James, I know we've spoken about this video before, not so much on a live show, but I want to show the viewers a video that Edu Gaspar did on another platform, and I want to get James's opinion so you can hear his thoughts on Edu Gaspar. Have a look at this.
Yeah, I think the project is not linked with the Champions League. The project is linked to be every single year be better club, put quality in the squad, better player, better group of players, also everything. So every single year we have to be better and better and better. I think we're doing quite well, but in the sequence of that, for sure we're going to be fight for something important. Yeah, I think the project is not linked with the Champions League. The project is linked to be every single year be better club, put quality in the squad, better player, better group of players, also everything. So every single year we have to be better and better and better. I think we're doing quite well, but in the sequence of that, for sure we're going to be fight for something important.
Now, James, what came out from the Easy Talk when we spoke about this segment was, what about players who are thinking about coming to Arsenal, who have an ambition or a dream about playing and maybe winning the Champions League at some point, and they're looking at a sporting director at Arsenal saying, our project has nothing to do with the Champions League. What rubbish is that, James? What is that all about?
Jobs for the boys, isn't it? Jobs for the boys is what it is. You know, and as I say, until Stan, Josh, Edu, and Mikel, until they all leave, the club won't crack on. And you know, I was watching the biased player, as I call it, today, and they decided to have someone go and interview players in the Diamond Club, which I imagine is not cheap to get into. and they were asking people about the greatest goal ever scored at the Emirates, upon which American tourists decided to name a goal that had no bearing, that wasn't even scored at the Emirates. And then other American tourists were lost for words, not even knowing anything about it. And what Arsenal have perpetuated with their match day experience, in inverted commas, is you're pricing people out of the game, and you're allowing people into games that have no care about the history of Arsenal Football Club, the welfare of Arsenal Football Club. It's only about the money. And I think that's a very, very sad state of affairs. We've got a sporting director who's lucky to be in that job. My abiding memory of Edu is him scoring at both ends in a Premier League defeat to Blackburn in October 2002. Obviously, he was Brazilian national team general manager, but that's completely different to being Arsenal sporting director. But we're veering more towards activism than actually football. We appear to want to placate everything and everyone, apart from what goes on a football pitch. And I just find that very, very strange. As I say, I had to go into the ballot for Porto, but Arsenal Fan Club Slovenia, they managed to get tickets for that game, I think. Well, I'm not being funny. I don't think Domzali and Olimpia Ljubljana are going to offer me tickets for their games in future, are they?
Yeah, good point.
And we appear to be salivating, and I say the word salivating, about being a global club. We're a global club. We're a global club. Okay, take us out of North London then. Let's become the San Francisco Reds, or the LA Londoners, or the New York Gunners. What are you going to do? What are you going to say then? They're not doing it for our benefit, are they? They're not doing it for our benefit. They're doing it for their benefit. And in the case of Arsenal, I'm touching almost 70 games from Amsterdam, which makes me proud as punch in the last 12 seasons. Thankfully, I think I've got a handful of games left before I can literally pick and choose what I do. It's a great position to be in. And I think as time goes on, as you say, with a ballot, why can't we go back to the old system?
Yeah.
Where you log in with your codes and you pick your spot. Some people don't want to sit with a raucous crowd, but with a ballot, they're automatically placed there. Maybe they've got a child who's sensitive about hearing, and they're not sure about that, you know. So I just think as well that we're veering towards more activism than actual football. And the fact remains, we are a football club who hail from Woolwich, Dial Square, Royal Arsenal, from Woolwich to the north of London. But now we're global. Okay, if we're global. But okay, what's in a location then? Can we change the capital of England, do you think? Can we change the capital of France? Can we change the capital of the Netherlands? Okay, you've got a political capital and a capital city, and the capital of the United States as well. But this globalism, as if it's doing us a huge favour. Well, if we end up in the first division or second division in the next 50 to 100 years, do you think that will do us a favour? Do you think?
Yeah, dear.
No.
Let's go through those last comments, James. And actually, here's a question for you from John. He says, James, do you think that the Arsenal youngsters have an issue when they have the ability but never get given a chance?
I think it's a great question. I think it comes down to desire, and I think it comes down to what they get told. And the greatest example of that is Ramsdale. Ramsdale is one of the reasons why we are playing Champions League football. Now, he's played one Champions League game, which turned out to be a dead rubber in Eindhoven when we was already through. Ramsdale signed a 5-year deal to subsequently be dropped. And I'm surprised Ramsdale hasn't left in January. I'm pretty certain he'll leave in the summer. And I'm sure he was told a lot of information by the club. I'll go on, sign the deal. It's good for the likes. It's good for the Insta. It's good for your social media movement. Only to be dropped by Arsenal. As I say, we've got a manager who started his managerial career at the third biggest club in the entire country. Where do you think you're going to go from there? Where do you think you are going to go from there? And I think if you just, with the stories of the likes of, you look at the greatest managers of all time in Ferguson, Clough, Shankly, Sir Bobby Robson, none of them started at the top, did they? No. They all had to work their way to the top because that's what gives you sustained longevity. You know how to deal with the situation. But Arsenal is a bit like a cartel now, where unless you're, excuse the pun, in the club and you're fully committed to everything that goes on within the club, every single campaign, every single hush, hush, wink, wink, unless you're part of that, they don't want to know, and that includes fans.
Yeah, well said, James. Well said. Utubi Aguna says, "Hey Alex, how you feeling after the 5-0 win?" Well, it's a win's a win. 3 points. You don't get any more than 3 points. And listen. I'm going to remain consistent insofar as to say that Arsenal are not going to win the Premier League, even less so the Champions League. It's just another 3 points. That's all it is. And everyone can jump on the bandwagon as much as they want and say, Arsenal are back. But I find it very, very strange that, when you start to, criticize or give an opinion, people call you toxic. I'm thinking, well, no, I'm just giving an opinion. I'm based on what I have seen. And secondly, one win in 6 before the game today, all the naysayers about, you're toxic, where have they gone? They've all disappeared now. They've all gone. Ridiculous. We're so divided, James, this fan base. So divided.
But it's the old adage, divide and rule, isn't it? I mean, when I see YouTube videos, how good was Dennis Bergkamp? My heart just sinks. How good was he? I'll tell you how good he was. Never mind your images and your stats and all that rubbish. I'll tell you how good he was. And but again, it's as if fans are being conditioned. It's as if fans are being conditioned to think a certain way, to act a certain way. And when you step out of line, we can't have you. What? Why not? Because I understand the game. What? Because I played the game. What? Because one of the greatest strikers we ever had told me that when he signed for Arsenal, he looked at George Graham. He looked at Arsenal, turned down Chelsea, turned down Manchester United, and he chose Arsenal because, in Alan Smith's words, they looked as if they were going places. And he was dead right, wasn't he?
All right. I think we're going to probably make this the last one before we do wrap this one up. And this is from Apollo. 101 Arsenal. He says, listening to Alex on the way home from the Emirates. Hope you enjoyed yourself, Apollo. Ramsdale. LOL, lacks the skill set for this system. It's simple reality. Well, I'm going to say, it's your opinion, Apollo. I see things remarkably different the way that you see things. He did bring in the player, Raya, and he was after Raya for the longest time. But from what I've heard, whether it's true or not, that there's a little bit of unrest amongst the players because they've seen Ramsdale play, and all of a sudden he's been dropped because we brought in this goalkeeper. So it's your opinion, Apollo, but I have my opinion. James, I'm not sure if you want to say anything on that or.
First and foremost, I respect every single opinion that comes through, but I've never seen a system win a trophy. I've never seen a system win a league. I've never seen a system win a Champions League. I have seen a collective, a team, tactical ability, managerial nous, man management, and togetherness win a league title and a Champions League and a cup, but never a system. And this is what I mean about fans being conditioned to think a certain way. System. A system being implemented by a manager who's starting his managerial career at the third biggest club in the entire country. Where do you think you're going to go? If you're a talented computer programmer, you don't start at Google, do you? you might end up at Google, but you don't start there. If you're a talented film director, you don't start in Hollywood, you might end up there, and so on and so on and so on.
And the last one, we'll call this quits. So Apollo's gone on to say, Alex, it's because some fans want Arteta to fail. 2 weeks before Christmas, we were top of this league. Well, Apollo, I've got to say, it's not about the manager, it's about the club. I've always been about the club. If we have a player coming from our rival, Tottenham, or even Liverpool, Man United, and they're going to come and play and give their heart for the badge, then all well and good. But I'm not invested in any manager, although I've never wanted any manager to be sacked. But Arteta, I'm here for the club. Apollo, the club. Anyway, I can feel I'm about to rant, and I don't want to rant, James.
No, as I say, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but Mr. Mikel Arteta had a 10-point lead in the Premier League title race and didn't win it. Mr. Mikel Arteta played a European semi-final and didn't get through. So it's not all about us, is it? Again, if he had more experience in being able to read a game of football, but the fact remains the man has started his managerial career at the top. And whether it happens today or whether it happens next season or the season after that, you will be found out eventually. You will be found out eventually. And the fact remains that since Arteta has become manager of Arsenal Football Club, he won the FA Cup with Unai Emery's players, not his own, with Unai Emery's players, with Aubameyang turning in a man-of-the-match performance to win us that final, and that needs to be said for Aubameyang that he really turned up that day. But the fact remains, Arteta has so far, with his own players, with his own methods, with his own tactics, not shown that he can win a trophy with Arsenal Football Club. He's got 2 chances to do it. Otherwise, from my part of view, he may be relieved of his duties. And I hope he is, because my point then as a fan of 35 years, where do you draw the line? Why do you think that the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, AC Milan, Juventus, Inter Milan are so successful? Barcelona, Liverpool even. Why do you think they are the pantheons of European greats? Because they don't accept mediocrity in any way, shape or form. They might have difficult years, but they try to put it right as soon as possible. Liverpool had an awful season last season and they're top. They're fighting on 4 fronts. And I'm pretty certain they'll win 1 or 2 trophies. But this time last year, they couldn't buy a win. Their fans didn't go all toxic and didn't go all funny because they knew their manager minds Dortmund, Liverpool. You think of all that experience that Klopp accrued, Mainz, Dortmund and Liverpool, being able to atone for his errors and fall back on his experience. What's our manager got to fall back on? His UEFA training course. Is that what he's got to fall back on?
But, James, after how long a period of time before they sacked Unai Emery? It was 18 months, wasn't it? And
yes.
Now nobody cares about Unai Emery. But yeah, the club has given Mikel Arteta a lot of backing financially. The fan base have a vested interest in what he's trying to do. 4 seasons, James.
Yeah, 4 full seasons. And the thing that upset me the most is we lauded a manager doing his opening press conference in English, hailing from the Basque Country. We were so proud of him to sit there in English and give everything he's got. Everyone was so proud of him. This is our manager. This is my G. Only to drop him like a bag of cement when we have a winless in 7 is what it was. We didn't lose 7 consecutive games. And he took Aston Villa from the 18th place to currently 4th within 13 months because they actually believe in what he does. Villa fans are not saying good evening. Villa fans are not vilifying his accent. Villa fans are saying he's the best manager they've had since Ron Saunders. And you could argue that Ron Saunders is the greatest manager Villa have ever had.
Never had. Yeah, absolutely.
People now, it's just, excuse the pun, my team has always got to win. It doesn't work like that. I don't expect Arsenal to win everything every year, but it would be nice to be in the hunt. But the fact remains, if we don't win the league this year, it's 20 years since Arsenal last won the Premier League. It will be 18 years since Arsenal last reached a Champions League final. Where do you draw the line? If we draw a Real Madrid and we get through against Porto and we draw a Real Madrid, you've got a team that's won it 14 times coming up against a team that's never won it. We're playing Porto. Porto have won 7 major European honours. We've only won 2. Porto have won the Champions League twice. We haven't. They've got nothing to fear. And our fans are very tribal. Very, very tribal. But we're the 3rd biggest club. 1, 2, 3. The 3rd biggest club in the whole of England. We're never going to bridge the gap between Arsenal and Manchester United and Arsenal Liverpool. The only thing we can do is try to win as many trophies as we can. But when you have barren spells, the 9 years under Wenger, between 98 and 2002, what is now 4 seasons, for example. When you have barren spells, you're never going to rein it in, are you? And I refer to my interview with Dave Kitson that I did for World Football Index. He plays for Reading, played for Stoke, played for Portsmouth. A football club without your history, you're nothing. And we appear at the moment to be more concerned with all the different campaigns, no more red. Okay, so we look like Real Madrid and Leeds and Tottenham, do we? It's not just a North London problem, it's a London problem. But again, it's wanting to virtue signal. It's wanting to show we're a football team and we hail from South London, not North. So we're concerned with the wrong things at the moment, in my opinion.
Listen, before I go on a full blast rant mode, I better call it quits. Anyway, so the end result is, the result today, 5-0, and it's only 3 points. We don't get any more than 3 points. So Arsenal move up into 3rd place. And like James says, we've still got to play the big guns. But anyway, James, listen,
away from home.
Away from home.
Away from home.
Away from home. Anyway, James, listen, thanks for joining us on this instant post-game reactions. And I'm quickly remembering why I stopped doing them.
No. Well, people will always have an opinion. But the fact remains, we haven't won a league title for 20 years. We haven't won we've never won a Champions League. We've only reached 1 final and 1 semi-final. We've got an inexperienced manager who had a 10-point lead in a Premier League title race towards the end of last season. Not at the beginning, towards the end. And still didn't get over the line. But again, we've got a board where they're more concerned with the Americanization of Arsenal. They're more concerned with that. So when they eventually take us out of London, it won't be so painful, will it?
Dear. Anyway, that's it. You will see me again next week Monday, when I get back to doing some just general news on Arsenal. What it's going to be about, who knows? Hopefully, Edu might not have another interview on another platform. James, thank you for coming back on the platform, James. Thank you very much.
You're more welcome. Looking forward to the Porto game and speaking one-on-one ahead of that.
Brilliant. Anyhow, this has been Cannon for the channel for Arsenal fans all over this world.